Okay, y'all, so I just made like an hour-long video talking about just my story. And if your attention span is like mine's, many y'all will never, ever, ever watch it. So I just wanted to just give you a snippet of a little bit about my story and where I'm at currently and where I feel the Lord's taking me, just so you can get an understanding of just who I am. So I didn't grow up Christian. My mom and my dad got divorced when I was 5. So I lived with my dad, my older brother, my older sister in the hood on welfare, food stamps, Section 8. He didn't work but 2 years and then ended up stealing some stuff and going to jail for a little bit, right? So I really never saw anybody like doing anything productive. I never really saw anybody to go into work on a regular basis. It just wasn't my life. I decided to join the military when I was 18, turning 19. I got married when I was 20, had 2 kids right out the gate, and still wasn't saved. I didn't end up getting saved until I was around 36 years old. I'm 43 now. And I got saved about 2 years prior to me getting ready to retire. My husband wasn't saved. He wasn't a believer either. We just really were not religious nor spiritual individuals, spiritual in the worldly sense, right? We were just living life. So with that being said, I got saved when I was 36, and it was 2 years prior to me retiring from the military. I retired from the military in 2019. So my plan, mind you, in the military was always just to get out and not have a job, not do anything else. This thought just fueled me, right? That I would be the one that once when my retirement was up, that I would finally get to be able to just chill, do whatever I wanted to do. I was supposed to lay on beaches, drink margaritas, work out, just lay up, just do whatever it is that I wanted to do and be on my own schedule, my own time frame. I was, of course, under rule and regulation with the military. I just wanted to be free. And this is what got me through year after year being in the military. After a certain year, probably year 8, I kept wanting to get out, but it just wasn't right for our family financially to be able to make that transition. And then just where we were at different locations in the world, it just wasn't lining up. So I was always supposed to just get out and chill, right? So 2 years before I got ready to retire, I got saved. And I was like, all right, okay. Now we got to go ahead and work through this, right? So a year before I retired, the Lord called me to seminary. And I was like, okay, now when I do seminary, that's it. I get to chill, right? I get to just, do my thing and just do whatever it was that I wanted to do. And I realized that I came from under the rule and regulation of the military to being under the rule and regulation of Christ. And that's how I viewed it at the time. I just didn't feel free to do whatever it was that I wanted to be able to do. So there was always this thought of, I just want to be free. I just want to just chill. I just want to do what it was that I wanted to do, because I had already had a whole career. I had already seen what I could do under pressure. I already felt like I went through this growth and development, this maturation process that we go through, and just learning yourself and seeing yourself being of value in the world, being able to give back and help people. I mentored so many young people and brought them into, where I felt like they needed to go in their life. So I had nothing to prove. So when I finished seminary, and even going through seminary, through my process, the Lord, it was just so unique, in which I was being propelled forward. I was being asked to be release things. I kept getting to this point where the Lord was just stripping me, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I asked someone one day, my pastor actually, what was happening, and she was like, it's because the Lord has something he wants you to do. I would talk to other Christians 50, 60 years in the game, and they would tell me, like, I don't know. I don't understand why he wouldn't want you to have anything. I can't understand why this, that, or the other, but why don't you ask God this? So even Christians weren't even understanding what it was that I was going through. But I realized like the Lord was leading me somewhere later on down the line. But I just thought this was a regular smegular walk. And it was just way too much. So I would get stretched. I would get tried. I would get tested. I would go through spiritual warfare. I'd be putting myself out there in ways like never before. And then I would encounter like the spirit of suicide, the spirit of death. Like, it was wild and crazy. I couldn't do the things that other people were doing, like clothing and makeup and all. The Lord was like shutting all that down, but I didn't know that's what he was doing. I just felt like crazy. So like I would be good for like a year or so, and then I would get so overwhelmed that I would just fall away. I would just backslide, because I'm like, this is too crazy. This is too wild. And nobody could explain to me what was going on. I had a knowing that the Lord was leading. I just didn't understand the weight and magnitude of processing. Like, nobody talked to me about that. But it's not their fault, because you can only talk to somebody about what it is that you know. So I just had this history of like just going through these sin cycles, backsliding. Then the Lord would like pull me back forward, and I would, of course, it would be too much. So I would fall away, and then he'd bring me back in. And this just kept going. Y'all, I even got to the point in these cycles where I ran to Mexico. I severed everything. I was having difficulties in my relationship and my marriage. It was just wild. So I was like, man, I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving everything, everybody behind, and I'm just out. So I knew when I got to Mexico, though, that I was going to seek the Lord. But I was like, yeah, I'm getting out of all this. We're going to have to figure something else out, because this ain't going to work. I ended up right back where I was at 40 days later. I had left my mom. I had to have her, because she was staying with me. I was taking care of her. I had to have her go stay with my sister. Like, I just left everything behind. I'm going to do a part 2.